Let's take that downtown tower cam shot, Fool, because pretty ominous looking skies here. This is looking off towards the east. If we can take downtown Cincinnati, Fool, just a moment, because we like to keep an eye on the skies, and if we've got real pictures to see and confirm what's happening there. Certainly an ugly looking sky as you're looking off towards the northeast. This would be looking, in case you're wondering, this is actually looking off in the direction if you're heading up to the northeast of downtown Cincinnati, okay, because that's the Ohio River. And the river's going to sneak its way to the right on your screen, which kind of takes us southeast of Cincinnati. But this would look due northeast, kind of up into that hail core of the storm that's up here in the northeastern part of Hamilton County. So that you can certainly see some ominous looking skies there, and probably why we're seeing some pea and small hail out of that, because it certainly looks like we've got a healthy structure to a thunderstorm there on the northeast side of the city, and that's what's likely producing some of that hail on the northeast side. So we can come back, give you a perspective of what I'm talking about here. The camera's looking at this storm right here that's about to move into Claremont County. When I said the river goes on down to your right, that would be to the southeast of Cincinnati. The camera's looking that way. So you're looking up into the storm that's northeast of downtown, out towards 275, up towards, let's say, for example, out in the direction of Milford, and then south of Loveland. So here's downtown Cincinnati. The camera's looking off to this direction. So that's kind of what you're seeing here, this storm near the Milford area right now. Not seeing as much hail in this as we were a few minutes ago. Probably still a nasty thunderstorm nonetheless. I noticed that hail core is kind of falling out of it. I wouldn't be surprised if there were a few tree branches down, maybe, or some limbs down up here in northeastern Hamilton County. Now that it seems like it's kind of dropped a little bit of its hail core. So that would suggest that probably some stronger winds have come out of this as well. Allison, you want to check velocity just really quick, see how that's kind of appearing on that storm? So there may be some strong winds with this, especially given that it's dropped its hail core. You can see near the Sims Township area, it's estimating wind gusts getting closer to 60. So that very well in 50 miles per hour. So if you're over in Goshen, I'd prepare for maybe some gusty winds to come through here as that storm continues to press its way off towards the east. So there certainly may be some strong winds embedded in that. Allison, how's it looking in terms of storm relative velocity? Are we seeing anything concerning with rotation in that?
At this point, I haven't noticed anything concerning with it. Looking at it, let's see. No, at this point, it's looking like, if anything, maybe very broad rotation, but so far not too much in terms of any concerning rotation or anything like that for that particular cell. And really throughout a duration of this afternoon, a lot of what we were seeing were mostly straight line wind issues for many different communities. And kind of going into today, it really did look like, Kevin, that we weren't going to see as much of the rotation with a lot of these storms as much as we were going to see that straight line wind threat.
And that seems to be really the concern, at least with this batch of storms coming through now, is the fact we can go back to regular velocity and just kind of keep an eye on these winds, because it did drop its little hail core. So some of those stronger winds could be fanning out right around the Loveland, Sims Township area, as we were saying, and moving in the direction of Goshen, Butlerville, Morrow. I'd say, you know, be on the lookout for maybe a 50, 60 mile an hour wind gust here over the next couple, 5, 6 minutes as this storm continues to move itself into more of Claremont County, southern Warren County. I am about ready to give the all clear for most of us in Hamilton County. A lot of the storm is now really shifting its way eastward. Allison, let's go back to reflectivity, and you can see, again, I think from Butlerville to Goshen is where I'd keep an eye out on this storm in terms of where you're probably going to have some of your stronger wind gusts coming up. So probably just south of the Mainville area here over the next couple of minutes. So right in this area, excuse me, is where you'd find your strongest wind gusts now. So Butlerville, Goshen, over towards Mainville, back in the direction of the Loveland areas where we've got these high winds. So the severe thunderstorm warning, not much else is happening. Honestly, now in Hamilton County, things are looking much improved. The worst of the weather now scooting its way into Warren County and northern parts of northern parts of Claremont County here with the potential for wind and rain. I'm not seeing that hail threat as significant anymore. You want to throw the hail tracker on there just really quick. You notice how we saw the purples kind of fade out, but there's that little hail tracker that we've been tracking across the northern part of the area that could be capable of producing just a little bit of hail. So with the threat kind of beginning to wind down a little bit across the metro area, we're going to get ready to send it back over to regular scheduled programming. We'll keep an eye on these storms. Obviously, should any additional warnings come up or anything change, we'll be back on. But before we go, Allison, we'll just go over to reflectivity, give a big setup on what's happened here. We've had these storms come through the area that were warned for damaging winds. They have weakened momentarily, still capable of producing some wind gusts out there in Clinton County, Claremont County, maybe Brown County. Keep an eye out. Can't rule out a localized gust to 50 or 60. Spotty power outage, a tree branch down here or there. And then there are other storms that have fired up in southern parts of Grant into Owen counties that are non-severe. I don't know if we're done with the threat for severe weather throughout the day. I still think there's enough time left here this afternoon for the atmosphere to try to recover. We'll keep an eye out on it. Any additional severe threat would be highly conditional upon the fact that the sun can pop back out and we can recover and get temperatures climbing again. But if that doesn't happen, this early day stuff may have kind of stolen the show, which happens around here sometimes. And we luck out because instability is not able to build all afternoon for explosive storms later in the day. So we'll keep an eye on it. Of course, we'll have a full update as things warrant throughout the rest of the afternoon, and make sure you tune back in and join us at 4 and 5 o'clock, of course, for WOWT News 5 this afternoon and this evening. For now, let's get you